I'm going to teach you how to visualize products in Blender like a pro. This is one of the most in-demand 3D skills, so if you can do this, you can definitely make some money. No more intro, let's get right into it. First of all, we're going to need some references. The best kind of reference known to man when it comes to 3D modeling is having the object in real life in your hands. But since you probably don't have this particular object, you're lucky because usually you can find a bunch of pictures on the Amazon page for any product you can think of. Right here we got pictures of this product from various different angles. We got animations showing us what this product looks like, and we even got a blueprint right here. So first of all, we're going to open up the blueprint, right click, save image as. I made a new folder just for this project where I'm going to save all the references or textures that I'm going to need for it. And I'm going to name this blueprint. Then I'll go to Blender, I'll enter top view. With Shift A, I'll go to image, reference, I'll locate this image and load it into the scene. I also like to add a little bit of transparency to these images when I use them in the background. Then I'm going to roughly align this with the world origin like this. I'll lower it below the scene. And now I'm going to need some pictures that I can look at as I'm modeling. So go back to Google and search for Pure Ref. Click on this download button, download this little program. And now when you run this program, you're going to get a little canvas on your screen like this. And this is where you can drag and drop images from anywhere, such as from this Amazon page right here. And any other program you open, this is going to stay on your screen so you can look at it. So I'm gonna try to throw in as many pictures as I can. You might even have to search for this product on Google Images. I don't have to do that because I don't need any more pictures. I got this product right in my hand right here. You might also have to go to right click, mode, and check always on top to make sure that this always stays visible on top of any other program you have in the background. Now you can go to Blender. I like to throw this shit on my second screen, but you can also just stick it in this corner up here because you're probably never going to need this outliner thing anyway. Now we got the images ready, let's start modeling. This object consists of two main parts. There is an inner part, which is this metal box where you put your cards, and around that we have this leather surface, which is partially stuck to the metal object like this, and then it is wrapped around the entire wallet, as you can see right here. So first we're going to model the metal part. Shift A, give me a plane. I'm going to place it like this, lower this edge and align it with the blueprint, and also bring this one closer. Now we can flip this sideways, move the blueprint, and now we can see the side view blueprint, so we're going to extrude it like this. This is the thickness of the metal part. Now let's flip this sideways again so it's standing like this. Give me a loop cut down the middle, Control B to bevel it and turn it into two loop cuts like this. We're going to bring that out to around here somewhere, but one of them has to be slightly more inwards. Then give me another loop cut like this and bevel that. Also give me one more loop cut on each side like this. We're going to use that to create the outer wall. That should be approximately as thick as this edge over here. Now we can delete these interfaces. That leaves us with a hole, and in that hole we can select these two inner edges, extrude, right click, and bring them closer together. I also want to have some more space over here where I'm going to add another loop cut, Control B to bevel it, and I want to take these two tiny edges I have over here and extrude them inwards a little bit like this. Now you can fill this hole on the inside with some clean geometry. To do that, we might have to add another loop cut like this. Then we can fill the rest here, also fill the other side. Then we can just select these faces like this, and we can extrude them downwards to create the hole. We're going to take these faces here from the bottom of the hole, and also these on the other side, duplicate them with Shift D, right click and lift them up, separate them to a new object. We're going to inset them slightly as possible, then select the edges on the outline and delete them. Slide this backwards, push this backwards a little bit as well, extrude this down, and then lower this back into the wallet. This is going to be some kind of black part here. I don't know what that does, but it's there, so we're gonna make it. I think these wallets are designed to prevent you from getting robbed. Sometimes you get a hobo with that machine that can scan your fucking card and just take your money through your pocket without you even noticing. But if someone's trying to rob you, they're gonna rob you anyway. The best way to protect yourself on the street is this right here. We're also gonna select the surface at the bottom, inset it slightly, then take this surrounding edge and extrude that inwards. That's just going to create some sort of gap here. It looks like we fucked up because this is supposed to be symmetrical on both sides. So I made some loop cuts in the middle. I'll delete the lower half, copy everything from the top and bring it down to the bottom. Now we're going to use these two edges, fill them, scale them up, and it looks like there's supposed to be a gap here. I don't know why. You can see it right here. We're going to leave that as it is. We got to add two more little details to this metal part. That's going to be this slider over here on the side that makes your cards pop out, and also this magnet shit on the inside. So place my 3D cursor right here and give me a cube. It might be easier with a plane. Flip it sideways, scale it down, scale it up on the Z-axis, extrude it out like this, lift this edge up, give me a couple of loop cuts over here, then lower these faces down like this, and try to to gradually make this more and more flat until you get to the top. You can also select these edges, go to Loop Tools, Relax, slide this down. Now we can subdivide this, select all the sharp edges, bevel all the sharp edges, Object, Shade Smooth. That looks pretty cute. Now we gotta cut some circular holes to make this magnet. So to do that, I'm going to add a bunch of loop cuts right here. We got 10 loop cuts. We're gonna do another 10 down here. One more cut over here, and let's do another 3 or 4 cuts like this so we have square tiles. Now we can select some areas like this to make the circular holes. Inset, Loop Tools, Circle, Individual Origins to adjust the scale. Extrude, right click, scale down slightly. Select the edge loop between the circle and the outside area. Extrude that inwards and delete the faces at the bottom. You can scale this down just to fix your topology a little bit. Expand the selection, push this outwards slightly. Select all the sharp edges, bevel them with Control B. Once you bevel all the sharp edges, you can add some subdivision surface. Object, Shade Smooth. That's going to make these edges shade much better. Now the metal shit is ready. We can parent all these parts to the middle. Let's move on to the leather part. Next, we gotta make this leather shit around the wallet. To do that, I'm going to have to take the vertices from the corners that I made here. Once I got those corners selected, I'm gonna duplicate them and fill them. P to separate that face to a new object. And now we have to extrude this to wrap it around the other object. Let's try adding a solidify modifier to this. Now, as we extrude this, it's going to also have some thickness. It will be even better if we go ahead and add a bevel modifier and we place that above the solidify modifier so that these edges get beveled before they get solidified. We're gonna have to reduce the amount to something like 0.01. We can increase the number of segments to whatever. And now from top view, we can just extrude this, extrude it again in this direction, and it's already going to have exactly the kind of shape that we're looking for. And we're gonna bring it over here to the side, wrap it around this corner, and finally bring it around this corner and bring it all the way back to the beginning like this. I'm going to add a couple more loop cuts so I can bend this a little bit more. That way this is going to look a little bit cuter on the sides. I want 2 more loop cuts close to this corner like this. Then we can just bring these close together, and now this curve is shaped a little bit differently. We also gotta figure something out about the inside of this wallet, because we got this pocket right here and we also got another pocket over here. So we have to place one pocket over here on this surface on the inside. To do that, we can duplicate this surface, lift it up by a couple of units, and now we can use this face to model out that pocket. We're gonna place that 3D cursor over here in this corner, duplicate this face and scale it down a little bit, lower this edge, bevel this vertex with Control B and V. I only want one segment like this. We're going to push that outwards a little bit, get rid of this, and lower this surface back down. We also got another pocket on this face right here. We can place a 3D cursor on this corner, rotate this by 90 degrees to open it up, duplicate this face, push it forwards a little bit like this, take this edge, slide it inwards, give me a couple of loop cuts like this, one more loop cut over here, select this area, inset it with I, B to remove the boundary, delete this, select this, Loop Tools, Relax. If you want, you can add some more geometry over here like this, then just go Loop Tools, space, Loop Tools, Relax, and there you got your other pocket. Place the cursor back here, select all this geometry again, rotate by -90 degrees to close this, and now that we got this leather part, let's start adding some textures. Most importantly, we're gonna have to make these stitches here. So check out how I'm gonna do that. This is going to be the most incredible trick that you've ever seen in Blender. Here's how we're going to line this entire shape with stitches all the way around everything. First of all, we're going to select the sharp edges. Shift G, select similar face angles. That's instantly going to select all the sharp edges. Control E, mark seam. Now in face select mode, you can easily select an entire surface without selecting the faces at the top. We're going to separate this for now because we're going to do this later separately. And then we're going to select the inner and outer surfaces around this leather wrapping. With I, we're going to inset this, and this new inset edge marks where the stitches are going to be. Select all those inset edges, and with Control B, you're going to bevel them. It has to be approximately this thick. You want 2 segments on this. It might be a good idea to duplicate this and then move it somewhere away. That way we can work on this separately. You might even want to separate this to a new object just so you don't accidentally fuck something up in the back here. Now we're going to start adding a whole bunch of loop cuts. We want to add loop cuts in such a way that all the edges have approximately the same length. For example, we have these edges right here, which means we gotta add a whole bunch of loop cuts over here until they're approximately the same length over here. That's going to be 59 cuts here. So I'm also gonna do Control R 59 on this part, Control R 59 here as well, and on all the edges which have approximately the same length, I'm gonna add 59 cuts. This edge is a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna do a few less loop cuts here, and also give me a couple over here. It doesn't have to be exact, but the closer you can get, the better. You might have to dissolve some edges in some areas where you have a high edge concentration. This is probably going to be the corners. Once you got everything more or less under control, we're going to select the inner edge loops, duplicate them again and push them to the side. Separate that to new object again. Select all the geometry like this. Control B to bevel and V to only bevel the vertices. You're going to make a small bevel like this on every vertex. This is going to represent the gap between the stitches. At this point, all those bevels should have exactly the same length. So if you select one of those small bevels, press Shift G, select similar length. Set the threshold to as low a value as possible, and that's going to allow you to instantly select all the small edges. With individual origins, you can adjust the size to control the gap. We're going to delete those small edges, and now we got only some lines left, and that's what we're going to use to create the stitches. So to turn this shit into stitches, here's what you can do. Go to Object, Convert, Curve. Over here on the side in the Curve properties, you're going to scroll down to the Bevel menu in the Geometry section, and you're going to increase the depth. You're going to have to use a very low value, something like 0.001, and that's going to turn each edge into a little tube. I'm also going to lower the resolution to something like 2 or 3, and now when you bring that to your leather wrapping, it's starting to look like you got stitches. Duplicate this object just in case you need some backup later when we apply this. Now go to Object, Convert, back to Mesh, select an end edge loop like this, Shift G, select similar amount of faces around an edge. Make sure that you're in edge select mode when you do this. Now press F to fill. Save this file now because it's about to crash. Add modifier, subdivision surface, and you might have to bevel each of these edge loops like this. There are going to be some parts that you probably have to correct. This is an exceptionally complicated object to stitch. You might have to bend some of the stitches by adding a loop cut and moving it around a little bit like this. You might have to merge some stitches into one. You can do that by deleting their ends, selecting the holes, W bridge edge loops, and now you turn this into one. Now we got some stitches ready, but we still gotta make the holes between the stitches. To do that, we're going to use this surface which we created earlier. You can get rid of the middle edge loops, select an edge, Shift G, select similar amount of faces around an edge. These still represent the gaps between the stitches. So you can bevel those, try to turn them into little squares, then in face select mode go Ctrl I to invert selection, delete all the other faces. Now if we bring this back to the wallet, you can see that they're placed exactly in between the stitches. With individual origins, you can now adjust their size, you can subdivide them and go loop tool circle to turn them into little circles, and this is exactly what we're trying to create here. We're gonna have to make sure that all of these are outside of the surface. With Alt S, you might have to do different areas separately because they have different normals. Here's what I mean by that. You can't Alt S them all at the same time because they're fucked up. So we're gonna inflate these a little bit like this, then do these separately, and just keep individually inflating or deflating these until they're all outside of the leather object. And now we're gonna select the surfaces on the inside and outside of this leather. You unwrap, add a new material to these circles, make that black, and also add a new material to the leather object. Name that new material leather, add a new image texture node, give me a new image 4096 by 4096. We're going to name this Stitch Holes. Make sure it's blank and click OK. We're going to bake these little circles as a texture onto this leather surface. So select the circles, shift select the surface below. In Cycles Render Engine, scroll down to Bake in Render Properties. Open that up, set the Bake type to Diffuse, uncheck Direct and Indirect, check Selected to Active, set the margin to 1 or 2, reduce the samples, and then hit Bake and wait and contemplate your life. And once you hit Bake, you can spend a couple of minutes contemplating some important issues. Do you have any idea how your tax money is being spent? And this Bake turned out to be a complete disaster, so we're gonna forget about the fucking holes. Fuck the holes. We're gonna roll with just the stitches. We're gonna parent those to the object here, put everything back together, and now our object is finished. We just gotta add some simple materials. Add some materials. We're gonna switch over to the shading workspace, add a new material for the case in the middle. That's gotta be metallic. Adjust the roughness to whatever you want. We're going to name that metal. Give me a noise texture node, plug the color from that into roughness. Control T for node wrangler, set that to object. If you don't got your node wrangler, go to edit preferences, add-ons, type in node wrangler and check this box right here. Increase the roughness, and you can use a color ramp node to adjust the colors of these spots. That's going to control the roughness. You can also change the colors like this. I'm I'm going to bring them closer together. Increase the roughness here, decrease the detail, crank the scale a bit further, and now that's gonna look pretty good. I need a rubber material for this here. We're going to name that rubber, set the color to black, increase the roughness. Then the leather material has to be dark gray. Give me another noise texture node, then give me a bump node and a color ramp node between those two. Color into factor, then color into height, and normal into normal. Increase the scale, reduce the strength, another node wrangler, and set that to object. Pull the white marker back, increase the roughness, increase the scale, and then this is going to start to look like leather. The stitches are gonna have their own material, which is going to be a dark gray as well. Increase the roughness, and also give me a rubber material for this thing in the middle here. If you want to add some credit cards to fill this up, go to Google and type in credit card texture, find a picture like this, save that to your computer, then in Blender go to Shift A, add a new plane, create a new material for that plane called credit card, Control T, open up the credit card texture, U unwrap, adjust the UV map so the card fits. You're probably gonna have to cut out the shape, Control B to bevel, V to bevel the vertices, adjust the UV map a little bit further, extrude this out a little bit. You might want to bevel these edges for shading purposes, object, shade smooth, and now you got a cute credit card that you can place inside the wallet. They're supposed to fit in something like this. I recommend you get a couple more of these so you can place a few more in there. As you can see, this wallet can fit 5 or 6 cards. You can also Google $100 bill, save this image, then in Blender go to edit, preferences, search for planes in the add-on section, check this add-on called import, export, whatever, go to Shift A, image, images as planes, load up the dollar bill, and now you got a dollar bill, and you can try fucking around with that a little bit so you can fit it in there as well. For example, you can add some loop cuts like this, cursor over here, rotate this by 180, then rotate this, and just figure out a way to bend this so it looks cool, and you can place that somewhere in there as well. And the more details you add like this, the cooler your product animation is gonna look. I damn near lost my mind making this tutorial, so I'm not gonna do any rendering or animating this time. I do this every other video, and if you want to learn more about animation in Blender, I'm doing a course for complete beginners on Patreon. I'm gonna guide you step by step through everything around how keyframes work, all the complete basic shit, and then I'm gonna teach you how to use that to animate products. Also check out my Blender ebook. I put everything that I ever use for modeling in there. I also got a big texturing update coming up. But if you don't want to support my channel as I'm busting my ass over here making these videos for you guys every single day, then at least like the damn video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on my other social media platforms. I just made a Rumble account where I'm gonna post some more content about other topics. I'm definitely gonna get banned from YouTube for the way I talk and the things I say. So go subscribe to me over there. Also check out my Twitter where I talk about a bunch of different things and we can get political there. And follow me on Instagram. This is where I interact with my audience the most. Join my Discord server. We're about to hit 3,000 people. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next one.